The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Good evening and welcome to Down the Garden Path with your hosts, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101. To contact us live right now, send us an email, instudio101@gmail.com. And now, right to your hosts of Down the Garden Path, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing.
Welcome to Down the Garden Path, where we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice for your gardens, plants, and landscapes. We think it is important and possible to have great gardens that are low maintenance, and that's what we strive to do here every week, is to share with you ideas and tips and guests. So that's what we like to do. So thank you for joining us once again down the garden path. I am Joanne Shaw, landscape designer and owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design for the past 10 years. It is currently a design-only business here in the east of the GTA. And with me is Matthew Dressing.
Good evening, everyone. I am Matthew Dressing, a local garden center worker with my...
More than that.
But also a landscape technician and horticultural technician with over a combined years of 20 years experience, just doing a little bit of everything in the landscape industry. So Joanne, we enjoy Down the Garden Path each week, bringing you interesting, relevant, and helpful topics to achieve a great garden. And we'll learn right along with you from each other, from our research, and from the amazing guests that we welcome onto our show. So don't forget, we welcome questions via social media, emails, or calls. Pick our guest spring.
Excellent. So tonight, we're really excited. We are going to be talking with Daniel Eggert, Organic Brand Manager with Harris Seeds. He's going to be with us in just a moment, but I'm going to read a little bit about Daniel. Like I said, Daniel is the Organic Brand Manager at Harris Seeds. He's a graduate of SUNY Oswego with a BA in Business. In the winter of 2016, he did fieldwork and organic farming with host families in South Australia through the WOOF program. He worked for 2 seasons in the Harris Seeds call center, speaking directly with home gardeners and professional growers. Daniel is an avid gardener practicing sustainable and biodynamic techniques himself. And a little bit about the company. So Harris Seeds is from Rochester, New York, exactly where Gary's from. The company was founded in 1879. Company's founder's grandson, Joe Harris, was chiefly responsible for introducing some of the exceptional quality vegetable hybrids still found in the grower and home garden marketplaces today. About a century after its founding, the Harris family sold the company to corporate owners. Harris Seeds' current private ownership acquired the business in the mid-1980s, keeping the company in Rochester and continuing to this day to follow Joseph Harris's philosophy: offer our customers a quality product at a fair price and they will return. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
How you doing, Joanne and Matthew? It's great to be on.
Thank you so much for joining, and we have such a big topic to talk about, so I'm sure we're going to have to hook you to come back and be a repeat guest, I think.
I would definitely love that. I was looking forward to this since the moment we had spoke at the Gardener Bloggers Fling in Washington back in June.
I know. Can you believe that was June?
Yeah, the time has been flying by all summer. It's just going by, and been a wet, hard one for us here in the Northeast, but you know, we got to persevere as gardeners.
That's right. That's right. Last year was challenging for one reason, and this year's challenging for another. So it's So we're we're the same up here. So it's been challenging.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought we would start with a really basic, and I'm sure you could talk a lot about this topic, but even me, though I've been in the industry a long time, just the whole idea of how we get the seeds from the farm or from the field to the retail right into the package. Is there?
Yeah, and this has been something that I've just been kind of accustomed to in these past couple of years. I've been working with Harris Seeds. And it's not as basic as you would think. You would think that you just get the seed, drop it in the slip in the package, and send it out the door to the customer. But it's actually a lot more intrinsic than that. So basically, how it all starts is really a breeder or a supplier starts looking at a variety and seeing that there's kind of a gap out there, whether it's with gardeners, home gardeners, or with the professional growers, and then they decide to basically fill that niche. So we can kind of just talk about, for an example, like a tomato.
Okay.
So a supplier, what they would do, or a breeder, they would basically get the breeding material, or whether it be an heirloom, something a university has been working on, to basically select traits from that tomato, whether that be taste, disease resistance, uniform size of the plant or the fruit, and then they would start growing it out a number of years to select through what they actually want the outcome to be for that tomato.
Wow.
So once they go through that whole process, usually picking a variety and then selecting out certain traits of that variety could take 5 to 10 years for certain varieties that are on the market. But once they get through that stage, then what they'll do is they'll basically start trialing it once they get to a point where they're comfortable of showing it to seed dealers like Harris Seeds.
Okay.
So then Harris Seeds would go to the supplier's breeding grounds or trialing grounds. We'll take a look at all of their what we call as varieties coming down the pipeline that are experimentals, and then we'll keep an eye on certain ones that we think, wow, that's awesome, that's looking great in the field. Especially this year, it's been such a tough year, and all that wet season we've had. Diseases have been rampant, pests have been rampant. So just looking at varieties this year has really stood out the best from the worst. So we've really looked at that, and this year especially. And once we get the variety that comes down the pipeline and make it available, then we'll say, okay, we want to trial it in our grounds to test it against some of the varieties that we already have in the catalog or already supplying. And if it goes through those trials, great, and we love it still, then what we'll do is we'll contract out a production of the seed. And at that point, we really tell the supplier that this is what we want for this year, however many seeds we think we could sell. We forecast the demand on it based on our previous demands. And then once we get the seed lot in from the supplier, then it goes through the inner workings of Harris Seeds. So we have a certified germination lab that we use to test seed germination. Every state and throughout federal standards, there are basically germination standards that need to be met. And usually Harris Seeds is well above those standards because we hold ourselves to a high standard. So with that, if certain tomatoes I think are at like 60 to 70% germination based on seed law, we're holding ourselves at around 85% and above, or we will not supply it.
Wow.
So that makes us and the end grower and gardener better adapted and having a better chance of success if they can actually. I mean, it all starts with the seed, so that's all about getting it sprouted, and that's what we're really testing for in the germination lab. And then we, right now actually, I've been going through a whole process of deciding what package sizes we're going to introduce. A lot of suppliers, I mean, you can look at any catalog and you'll see a gram or a quarter ounce, or what I really try to go for with our catalog is a seed count. And so it really makes it easier for the gardener or the grower to know exactly how many seeds are coming to them, not just, oh, here's a half ounce of tomato seed. I mean, who can really say how much a half ounce of tomato seed is without looking at the seeds per pound and then doing all the math on it? So then once we get it all, through the seed germination lab and figure out what packet size we're going to package it in, we have machines, and actually some of them are hand done still, to basically count out the seeds to put them in the packaging. And with organic seed, it's a little bit different, because if a treated seed, goes through a machine, we have to clean that whole machine out before an organic seed can go through it and still stay certified organic. But if an organic seed ever touches any treatment, it's no longer considered an organic seed.
Wow. So that's a whole other part of it, right? Is keeping.
Yes, exactly. So we really have to, dot our I's and cross our T's when it comes to packaging and our germination lab, because we have the germination lab, we have, seed certifiers come in and make sure that we're testing everything correctly. And it's just a whole another end of the seed world that people don't really know about when it comes to testing and trialing. I mean, we've really kind of set ourselves a bar pretty high for all of that.
Okay. So what year? So there's obviously like a delay in the years. So like right now, what seeds are you picking? Are you picking for? You're not picking for 2018. Are you looking farther ahead?
No, actually, the past couple of weeks have been dedicated to us for trialing. So we actually just went down to Geneva, New York, which is a hot spot for trial beds. I went down to University of Cornell for Vegetable Breeders Institute, and they're actually coming out with the breeding materials for breeders and suppliers to use within their varieties. And then I went down last month to the University of Wisconsin to check on there. They actually had organic trials there, so all of the big organic producers were putting stuff there so that they can actually take a look at it regionally. So we look at it in New York, we look at it in Wisconsin, we look at it out in the Northwest, in Oregon, and Washington. I also went to trials in the beginning of the year in Florida. So really, we're traveling all around the country to just take a look at regional adaptability of certain varieties. I remember looking at a melon trial in Florida, and it was like, oh, this melon looks great. It's standing up to the heat very well. And then I come up to the north here in the wet season we've had, and the whole thing, they just basically had to pull it out because it didn't even withstand any of the water. So it is, it takes a lot to look at a variety, not just being in one place and thinking it's awesome, but you have to look at it in all different places and in all different weather.
Right. So the material that you're looking at in the seeds that you're trialing now, so are they going to be ready for next year or 3 years or 5 years?
Some of the varieties were ready this year. When I touched on about the experimentals, those are still being selected through their traits, that their desired traits from what the supplier is going for. So I looked at this eggplant this year from a supplier. I thought it looked great, and I thought it was ready, but it really wasn't uniform from plant to plant. They'll plant a whole hedge of this variety or this genus, and then they'll look at every single plant down the row and say, okay, this one looks like it has a better disease tolerance against, whether it be Fusarium wilt or late blight or septoria leaf spot. They'll basically look at a whole hedge and a whole family line of the variety and say, okay, well, we're still in the experimental phases. We believe this is going to be coming out for the 2019 season. But 2018 season, we will have a bunch of new varieties within the catalog. And in terms of organic, I'll actually be adding about 80 varieties to our new organic line.
Oh, that's great. So there is definitely an increase in demand, right?
100%.
Yes.
Yes. The demand is definitely outpacing the supply, unfortunately.
So with the breeders, are they organic? So now it must have to start from there, right from the breeder as far as it being organic, or?
It all depends. Some breeders will only put their breeding lines into a conventional seed production. So they'll actually say, okay, we don't think that this will actually be marketable to an organic grower. We don't think that we can sell it to an organic grower. We just want to basically produce the seed as organic. Or we think this is going to be a great variety for organic growers to grow because of its disease tolerance and disease resistance. that's naturally built into the genome of the seed.
Okay.
So we think this is going to be a great variety for them, and that's why we're going to produce it organically.
I see. But still, when it gets to you, then the next level is then when it gets to you, you need to go through, make sure the two machines are separate. Are they separate machines, or are they just at separate times?
We have designated machines that are only doing organic seed, but we also have seed machines that kind of do both because of whether they'll count faster, but we have to clean them out and do a thorough cleaning of them. But we also have, a spot within our facility that we house all of the organic seed in. That's basically closed off from the rest of the seed.
Excellent. And there's inspectors, right? You said that people come and make sure of that.
Yeah, there is an inspector. We have NOFA New York is our handler, and they basically will come in and do an inspection, and we kind of have to detail out and keep records of everything that, all the seeds we have in-house, how we're storing them, and they'll come in and make sure we're all compliant with those.
Excellent. And that regardless of whether it's going, because you're dealing with home gardeners as when people that purchase retail as well as more commercial growers too.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, so we, depending on, we might think that a certain variety that's kind of a novelty or a niche might be better off with a home garden market. We might not market it more we have a professional vegetable catalog, and then we have a home garden catalog, and then we have the organic catalog, which is both for home gardeners and commercial growers. So we might say, okay, well, this specific variety that's kind of a novelty, if you look at like a lemon cucumber, for example.
Okay.
We just picked up a line that we're going to be adding to the catalog for a lemon cucumber. That's kind of a novelty. A lot of home gardeners grow it, but you really don't see it among, fresh market growers, or you don't really see it in the grocery stores,
right,
because it's something that, commercial growers don't ever grow large quantities of.
Okay. Like the cucamelon.
Yeah, like the cucamelons. Yep. Yeah, like the little mouse melons.
Yeah,
I was actually just looking at some of those too. Yep.
Yeah. No, we grew them in our in a container for the this year, and it was like my son is still he's 20, but he's the one who's growing it, and it took so long with the weather to actually be anything, and then we just weren't, because we've never eaten one at the grocery store or at a restaurant. Like, you had no idea. Like, so to eat something for the first time that you'd never even seen before, it was really interesting. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the cool thing about, actually growing your own varieties is you go to a grocery store and it's all the same things.
Mm-hmm.
You got your very uniform shaped fruits, you got your very uniform shaped vegetables, and they all are always going to look the same. But when you actually look at like a seed supplier's catalog or a seed, like Harris Seeds, there's so many varieties within there that you'll say, wow, there's actually like 50 varieties of tomatoes that I can grow, and they're all different. They're all going to taste different, and they're all going to perform differently, in terms of the plant habit. So that's really what I find fascinating, is just the overall landscape of how much diversity there is within the seed world.
Wow.
So, Daniel, do you do more of your seeds towards homeowners or consumers? Like, is there one you end up selling more to?
So our large part of the business in terms of sales is actually towards the commercial growers. But we do have, when Harris Seeds back in the day had eventually been sold off and then resold back to the private family, it was resold back from the larger company that bought it as the home garden market and the small commercial growers, so like the small 1 to 50 acre farms. And we, had a large marketing plan towards the home gardener, and it still has been in place for, the number of years we've been after the sale of Harris Seeds. But it's a small part of our business, but it's a very, it's something that we, always keep an eye on. We're always trying to put more into it. So we started our brand, the Garden Trends. I know you met Marissa Joanne back in June at the Garden Bloggers Fling. She's really kind of tried to ramp up our home garden initiative, because it's a lot of it's going, towards the growers who are doing it in a small scale, but trying to do it on their patio,
Yes,
and a lot
yeah.
in containers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really trendy, the things that are going on within the home garden market. So that's actually where we're trying to market towards more
absolutely.
on the home garden side.
Yeah, I can, as a landscape designer who, I go to people's homes almost every day to design, their garden space, and pretty much, honestly, everybody, whether it is just for, do they want me, one of the lists of things that they want is a vegetable garden or a patio large enough, because the trend is also to get rid of grass and to make their patios bigger. So the trend, an area in the wet area in the patio, can we keep our pots, for growing vegetables?
Yeah.
I would say it is the exception where people are not wanting that. And I have to say, even from last year to this year, it's been huge. It's been huge. So, and that's just me in my little area of the world,
Yeah.
So I can imagine the impact that you're seeing in the trend. So that's really cool.
Sure. Yeah, and we're seeing.
Absolutely. We're doing container trials at Harris Seeds, and we're doing garden display beds at Harris Seeds. We just had the All-American Selection Summit come through Harris Seeds. We were the host of it. And we had a whole she shed that we built and kind of put on display there. We put a whole walking garden display through there. So, I mean, we're definitely looking at different trends in the home garden market for sure.
Excellent, excellent. So we have a guest or a question from a listener in email, and it ties with our next question for you as well. So Janice Brown she's asking if you ship product and what your contact information is. But our question was, where in the world do you ship your product?
Yeah, so right now we ship within the United States and Puerto Rico. We used to be able to ship to Canada, but because of the phytosanitary laws, we are not certified anymore for that. We are talking about doing that again. It's actually been a big push that I've been voicing my opinion on to start getting into Canada again, but we just got to make sure that the numbers work out for us and we have the demand. But I would love to start shipping into Canada or throughout the North America again.
Excellent. So and we will definitely. And so your website is just for. Gary just took the thing away.
It was for Janice.
Janice. Okay, good. Sorry, the email just went away. Your website is harrisseeds.com.
That is correct. We also have a website. It's gardentrends.com, and that is for our home garden, basically customers. We were trying to drive more customers to Garden Trends. It's more geared and marketed for home gardeners.
Oh, okay.
So it's got a lot more trendy home garden.
Oh, and I spent my day on Harris Seeds site, so I didn't know about the Garden Trends site. Well, that's good to know, though. So good. There you go, Janice. So gardentrends.com. We'll have more information at the end of the show as well with all your social media, but I'll give you've also been generous for our listeners, and there's a promotion for free shipping if they use the code 8FALLGARDEN, correct?
Yep, that is correct. 8FALLGARDEN, all one, no spaces. It doesn't matter if it's capitalized or not. Just 8FALLGARDEN.
The number 8. The number 8. Perfect. And we'll get to more about that too as well. And I know Canada has different rules, and for sure. But since you're so close, right on the border there. I know it's convenient. I know, Matthew, you had said in the store you had seen them in the past, Harris Seeds.
I remember seeing Harris Seeds.
Yes. So nice
to see him again.
Yeah. So that's great to know that you're there. And a lot of people, Canadians have no people in the U.S. and stuff like that. So where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Exactly. That's what we always hear. We don't try to encourage it, but where there's a will, there's a way. And I know that some people like to ship it to a United States address, especially because we're so close to the border.
Yes.
And actually, a lot of people will come through our store. They will drive from Niagara Falls over to Rochester and just pick it up there. Yeah. So where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and we do that for a lot of things. So, so for sure. And Irene has written in saying that it is a very interesting radio show. So many people wonder about how seeds are produced, etc. Now we know. Great topic. And she's listening from Reno, Nevada.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, so that's very cool.
Thanks, Irene.
Yeah, long growing season there, right, Irene?
Yeah, kind of jealous. It's not as much rain, but yeah, definitely a extended season for them.
Excellent. So we were talking about the increase in demand for organic. So it must be challenging for you to kind of even forecast your numbers because of the new trends.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year I really wasn't in the position I am this year, but you know, my advisor that has basically started the program and made it into what it is now, she had forecasted, you know, for the specific corn that we were selling. It's an ornamental corn. It's called Glass Gem. Really unique looking. It's more of you know, for growing for the Halloween season.
Okay.
You know, we only thought we were going to sell a certain number of packets for it, and we ended up quadrupling, if not, you know, almost tenfolding that time. So, I mean, it was really hard to, you know, forecast the demands, but also purchasing in seed too. It really hurts us because if we think we're only going to purchase it in and, you know, sell that out, and then we have to purchase it 5 more times within the season, it really, you know, all those costs for freight,
Right.
and you know, seed production add up.
Yeah, definitely. Like ordering plants and
That's exactly it.
forgetting. I had that dilemma just before the show. The contractor confirmed a plant list, and there was a question. And I thought, oh, and because it's farther away, it was a West End job, and I thought, oh no, like if the one plant is missing, that's a big deal. That long, you know. Whereas when I'm local, when I'm nearby, I can just whip out and grab it, right?
Right.
But it's a much bigger deal. It's a much bigger deal when you have to bring it in from somewhere else. So, so definitely, and that's a much bigger scale than my one little plant. So. So for sure. So that must be really exciting though to be doing what you're doing at this time in the, you know, the demand for organic. I think that's really exciting, Daniel.
Oh yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, the position I'm in, it's just a dream come true. I kind of pinch myself every day, and the position I'm in, is this really happening? Is this a dream? I mean, I think, you know, this time last year I was just ramping up to go to Australia and, you know, just kind of get my hands in the soil per se, and now
Matthew's packing his bag right now. Yeah. He's like, as soon as I told him about it before we called you, he's like ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and now I'm writing the catalog for the organic program.
Yeah. So wow,
Nice.
yeah, that's very cool.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So yeah, we were talking about just, you know, the popularity of these varieties and things. Do you have like a top 3 most popular varieties or categories that you find are more popular than others?
I mean, we have our most popular in terms of sales. I personally think that the most popular varieties should be, you know, cucumbers, tomatoes. But I mean, in terms of you know, popularity in terms of sales, our number one selling packet is actually the Zucchini Elite. It's a quick growing, very easy to grow zucchini plant. I basically all zucchini'd out this year. I've made so many different zucchini breads and muffins and different ways of cooking it just because I planted too many in my garden.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, and just in terms of other, like, genuses, though, some of our top sellers are, like, Primo Red Tomatoes in terms of tomato. We have one of our actually biggest selling genuses are pumpkins and sweet corn. Okay. Pumpkins specifically for Halloween season. In terms of that, we have Cronus, Gladiator. Those are like the nice size, perfect stem, hard stem for, you know, about 20 pounds, perfect for jack-o'-lanterns. And then in terms of sweet corns, we have Mirai sweet corn. We just came out with a quality elite sweet corns, which we're actually looking to sell untreated so that organic growers can grow them this year. We actually just added, you know, one big seller right now for us is garlic, and I'm sure you guys have seen that as a trend as well, is garlic among home gardeners.
Yes.
Is going crazy.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
Yeah, so we just actually added organic garlic for the first time. We're actually getting it right within the Rochester area, which is awesome. So it's not going, you know, from across the country to get to us and then country back for, you know, growers who are out in the West. But, yeah, that's one thing right now that we've been selling a lot of is garlic.
Excellent. And I just pulled up a picture because I wasn't able to partake. I know you gifted the Garden Bloggers Fling Red Racer transplants.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And several of the bloggers, posted and kind of were promoting the pictures. I just showed Matthew the one who did it. Oh, this was Claire. She showed it up to next to a quarter, just how big the tomato was. And so I know that was one of the bummer things sometimes with being Canadian, right? We can't bring some of the stuff or can't participate in some of the sponsors things, but that's okay. It's great to hear about them from others. So was that a new tomato?
Yep, that was new. That was actually a 2018 announcement as an All-American selection winner, too. So that was really cool for us. We actually just partnered with the breeder. They're actually an independent breeder out of Florida. Both of them have their PhDs in plant breeding from Cornell. They're, very, very intuitive breeders that are just doing it the right way through natural selection.
Excellent.
They're trying to produce varieties that are amazing tasting but also very disease resistant. So it's applicable for home gardeners and professional growers. And we did that whole promotion just to kind of to build the traction among the home garden community with the garden bloggers.
Yeah.
And it's it's skyrocketed for us. I know a lot of the bloggers that I've communicated with on it, they've reached back out to me, and we sent the plant at the end of, or actually right around the 4th of July that week, and they already had plants producing fruit by almost Labor Day, before Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of the fastest tomatoes they said they've ever grown.
Yes, and I should say it's a cherry tomato, which is why the quarter was, obviously a regular tomato is bigger than a quarter. So that was why
Actually, it's a cocktail tomato. It's not actually considered a cherry tomato. So it's not as sweet as a cherry tomato, but it's a little bit bigger. So it's great for sauces. It's great for salads. And when we first saw it down in Florida with them, they actually made this sauce for us, like with garlic and onions, and it was probably one of the best sauces I've eaten.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
In addition to vegetables, you do have annual seeds or flower seeds as well.
Yes, that is correct. Flowers, we have a lot of annuals in terms of bedding, ornamental vegetables as well, and also cut flowers, which is a really big market that's growing within the United States. And I actually just read an article about the whole market and history of the cut flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And, back before the 80s, all cut flowers were actually produced within the United States. And now they're actually, more of them, a majority, are actually produced in Colombia.
Yeah. And
it actually is kind of produced with unsustainable practices. A lot of pesticides are used, and actually a lot of workers get ill from it.
Yeah.
So really what I'm actually promoting within the organic catalog is a more sustainable cut flower market, a more fresh market, cut flower growers that are putting them in bouquets and different arrangements. And actually not importing them from Colombia, which I think is unsustainable altogether.
For sure. And that is a big trend here in Canada and Ontario as well. We have a lot of flower farmers. We've had Delia, flower farmer, just from east of the city. She's been on the show before. Toronto, actually is my neighbor's daughter. And Toronto Flower Market has been on the show as well, Natasha. So she started what's called the Toronto Flower Market. So once a month downtown Toronto, she has connected all the local growers in the, general Toronto area kind of thing, and they all come into the city with their flowers that they grow on their own farms and their own properties, and they sell. So once a month, they sell from May until October. They sell to right to the homeowners, right to the end user kind of thing, if you want to call it that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's something she saw when she was visiting Berlin. I guess there's a regular flower market there, and she was blown away by it and couldn't believe that a city the size of Toronto didn't have something like that. So really has connected and really mobilized the community, and it's definitely spreading. I know in Whitby, we know of a flower shop called Mint Floral. They've got someone locally now growing the flowers for them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And there's another, My Luscious Backyard. She's in the city, and she's got a postage stamp little downtown, but she's a florist herself, and so she produces her own flowers for the weddings that she designs for. And so it's really, I think, a huge trend. In addition to the vegetables, I think definitely flowers are people are looking for that, and the varieties are different and unique, and things that you wouldn't like. They're growing dill, for bouquets, right? Not necessarily for eating or for the herb. So they're really great at thinking outside the box. Like, I'm really impressed. But it has been super challenging. You have to look at Melanie's Instagram to know how challenging the year has been for a flower farmer.
Yeah, it has definitely been a challenging year in terms of all growing. But that's another cool topic as well, is the whole local grown movement. I mean, when we start producing, flowers within our local communities, that starts, promoting better practices in terms of promoting bees, honeybees, and pollinators. And then, the more flowers that are out there, the more food for pollinators. So that's just another sustainable practice that we can, incorporate.
So we get that often in the garden centers, the fear of the neonicotinoids and, are they safe for butterflies and pollinators? So are there any concerns with any of the seeds? I mean, the organics, I'm going to guess not, but do you ever have to face that concern with any of your, the garden trends?
Well, because their standards are a little different than ours, though.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain seeds. We don't treat any of the flower seeds. They're all coming in a raw form. Organic, obviously, there's no any fungicides, pesticides used on them. We do offer some seeds on the conventional side that do have a small amount of fungicide on them. But those are just for seed-borne diseases that the seed may face within the soil.
Right.
So they really don't, as the growth of the flower happens or the plant happens, then it doesn't get translated to that. It's more of the side of the conventional growers who are using the pesticides or, insecticides that have the neonicotinoids in them that would affect any pollinators. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the seed. It just has to do with the growing practices and methods.
Oh,
Right.
Okay. All right. And we have another question, an email from Nan. She's asking, how do all these hurricanes affect, if anything, the seed market? She's just curious.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, our breeders that we've kind of partnered up with down in Florida, they were in Oviedo, Florida, which is right outside of Orlando, kind of on the other side of where Irma hit. I just got a ton of articles sent to me because I actually am part of a bunch of newsletters through Ball Publishing, Grower Produce Network, that every single one had the topic about how these hurricanes in Houston and Florida have affected growers, and a lot of them are just kind of picking up the pieces currently. So I think that a lot of, like I just donated today at the grocery store to try to help out with relief efforts. And I think, all those efforts, coming together as a nation and donating to support the needs of the people affected by it are really helping out. Growers as farmers and home gardeners, it's all just about adapting. We adapt every season to whatever Mother Nature throws at us, and sometimes it's more severe than others. But I'm sure with the relief efforts and through farmer insurance has actually gotten a lot better in the past couple of years, so that's a good thing as well. But
hey, Daniel, was that grocery store Wegmans or Tops?
Oh, it was Wegmans.
Okay. I just
he sounds
wanted
like
to,
a Wegmans guy.
I just wanted to, it's, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's a great question, Nan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nan. Yeah, so basically, it's just all about adapting as a farmer, a grower. Unfortunately, that was a very severe adaptation that we have to go through, but you just got to pick up the pieces and get ready for next season.
Yeah, for sure. And I think people think about the farmers, like in the sense of the produce growers and stuff, but you forget about the seed, the other stuff that gets grown. I think that sometimes, those things are overlooked sometimes, or they certainly don't get the national spotlight. They'll talk about, orange prices are going to go up and, things like that, but forgetting about the other things that farmers grow.
Yeah. I mean, onions is a big thing in Texas, so I'm sure we'll see the onion prices creep up within the grocery stores, whether it be local or the big chain stores. But yeah, I mean, really, it's all about. I always talk about supporting your local growers because that's
Yeah.
really the most sustainable way of supplying the food chain. So I think that, unfortunately fortunately I'm not in Texas or Florida, but, they're going to have a hard time adapting. But, I mean, farmers and growers are tough, and I'm sure they'll make it through.
That's right. And we were saying in our house about no more complaining about a snowstorm, right? The media, the upstate New York and Buffalo and Toronto area, like, I don't care if it's 2 feet of snow or 3 feet of snow. Like, that is nothing to come back from compared to what these hurricanes do,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I never complain about snowstorms. I actually love them. But, I mean, like I said, it's very fortunate that I'm not down there. But, all of our thoughts are with the people that are. I have family down in Florida, and I'm sure, many of your listeners do as well.
Yeah.
And some of your listeners are probably down there. So we're thinking about you, and we're supporting your recovery.
Excellent. Yeah, no, thank you for mentioning that because we do want to keep them in our thoughts and do what we can. I know there's a lot of Canadian firefighters and Davy Tree. There's a whole bunch of, people going down to help out hydro, so that it's great that we can do that for each other. So, so definitely. So we were talking a bit about garlic. So definitely that's a new trend, but it is also something that we can plant in the fall.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. One of the, that's pretty much the only season you can be planting.
That's right.
In the fall. I mean, you could try to do it in the spring, but you're going to have a lot smaller bulbs produced after that.
So that's one thing I think people think that, seed starting and planting things are mostly starting in spring, but there's really a lot of fall plants that we can still consider, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually just tore out a lot of my tomato plants. I'm just picking the rest of my peppers right now because this is the kind of time of the year where those are going to start to, decrease in production. And really, it's kind of a fine line that growers kind of fiddle with. That they say, okay, where do I pull out, or what time of the year do I pull out this tomato plant? Because right now the daylight is starting to go down, and the days are getting shorter. So we really got to make the decision either now or never to plant something. So generally in the fall, what's planted, what you want to be planting are greens. Spinach is a great one. Kale is a great one, lettuce, and actually these things are actually going to have better flavor within the fall season as the frost comes on. It actually gives them better flavor, a sweeter flavor. Brassicas is another great one that will be better tasting during the maturity time of the cooler season. Garlic, that's one of the main ones. I just planted in my garden. I just planted radishes, spinach, beets is another good one. I put some shorter season carrots in there, and a bunch of lettuce. Just stuff that is easy and actually tastes better during the fall.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. So that is good. So obviously, our listeners can order the seeds if that's something that they want to add, if they're ready to kind of rip up their tomato plants. And I know we have Brussels sprouts that grew and grew and grew and grew into like 4 little huge shrubs, but no Brussels sprouts. So it was my son's first attempt at gardening, a vegetable garden, and he's been very good at it, and it's definitely been his thing. And we thought I'd never grown. I mean, I'd grown cherry tomatoes, and I'd grown mostly in containers myself. But so we kind of thought, hey, let's just give Brussels sprouts a try. And so, so anyway, that happens. But knowing now that, we can maybe take those out and put something else in and still get a harvest.
And still get something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Brussels sprouts are a tough one. Usually you kind of want to be planting those in the summer so that they're germinating better. But then as the colder season comes on, they actually set fruit because they're thinking that, summer or winter's coming. I got to set seed.
Okay.
The plant kind of goes into, trying to reproduce mode, and then that's kind of when the Brussels sprouts come on. So, it's all about adapting as a gardener. We're never going to be successful in the first venture when we plant something new.
Yeah.
But, it's all about learning from your mistakes, and that's kind of how I've learned, and I'm sure every listener here
Yes,
has learned that way as well.
For sure, because what we learned this year, I mean, this year is completely different than last year. Last year we were watering like every half hour, right? Because it was so hot and dry.
Yeah.
And this year we didn't need to water as much. I mean, I think by mid-July, people kept thinking, we've had lots of rain. It's like, when it came to their trees and their other shrubs, it's like, no, we need to water now,
Yeah.
So definitely. So the best way for our listeners to order?
So the best way, we actually are, and I'm actually almost done with the organic catalog, so if they're looking for organic seed, they can actually go on our website to request a catalog. They'll be getting it around the third week of October. We have a number of other catalogs. We have our home garden trends catalog. We have our professional vegetable catalog for any commercial growers out there listening. We have an ornamental catalog, which has all of our flower seeds, some flowers that you've never seen before that are a little easier to grow and are amazing looking, very beautiful. You can also go on our website, which is harrisseeds.com, or if you're home gardener, gardentrends.com. We have all of our varieties available on there with pricing, growing information. We have a lot of resource guides on there in terms of how to grow varieties, genuses, and best practices. We actually started our blogs as well this year, which are taken off. Growers love them. It has a lot of great content and information in there for them as well.
Excellent. And those blogs can be found on the websites.
Correct. Yeah,
Excellent.
The Harris Seeds is From the Ground Up is the blog, and then I'm going to sound terrible when I say this, but I'm not really too sure what the Harris Trends name is. But they are right on the front page. You can't miss them.
Okay, excellent. And we do want to let our U.S. listeners know that you do have a free shipping code if you type in 8 Fall Gardening, the number 8. Fall Garden. That is your code. It expires at the end of the month, so the end of September. So if you are on the site and are ordering some product, then please use that code. Daniel's been kind enough to share that with our listeners, and I'm sorry for our Ontario and our Canadian listeners, but I think it's still been she still brought great value to the show and learning, and just because our trends do come from you, from a lot of it too. So I think I feel like we're getting the first scoop of information on what the trends are for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for the Canadian listeners as well. Hopefully within the next couple of years we'll be able to get some seeds to you guys.
That's right.
This was a great experience. I would love to come on again if you would ever have me again. We could talk about woofing. We could talk about anything you guys want. I mean, I always love talking about seed and gardening. Okay,
well, we definitely are going to do a woof show. That's definitely, we're going to be talking about that. So you're going to let me know.
We're going to have to do a couple of shows.
We are definitely, because then we definitely need to talk, the prime gardening season or seed starting season. So I'd love to talk, January, late January or February, that time frame, whatever you think is the best time to really appeal to our listeners on best practices there. Seed starting totally intimidates me, and so I now know there's many listeners that probably feel the same way, and so I'd love, there's lots of shows, Daniel. You've been a great guest, and I know you've got such a great background that I think it really appeals to our listeners, and that's what we want to do here, is help our listeners learn like we learn along with you, and practical advice and knowing the trends, that type of thing. So it's been a great show. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks, Daniel.
Okay, have a good night. We'll talk soon.
Yep, talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, the time flew.
Time flies, but what a great show. Thank you so much for coming
just
on.
Fascinated by all the breeding and what goes into it is unbelievable, for
that
sure.
Tiny little seed package has got so much knowledge and years of trials and just
absolutely. And
so
I think about that
it.
as far as the plants go, but I guess the seed, it all starts with the seed, really.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Yeah, so that is incredible. We have our regular segments that we tried to do, but what's happening in the garden? Not much is happening in my garden from last year, last week. How about you?
Nope, not much really.
Okay. Anything new at the garden center?
Not too much. Just getting ready for that switch to fall.
Yes,
switch over to fall.
Definitely. Although this weather this week looks pretty good.
It does.
So yeah.
So bulbs are in and garlic is in.
Yes.
And they're still, like Daniel said, they're there's seeds to be bought at your local garden center.
Right.
So, get in there and take a look.
And garlic is, we could do a whole show, and I do have a past show on garlic. So you can go to my website at downtoearth.ca, the number 2. And look up that episode, or just Google Down to Earth garlic, and it'll come up. I've tested that lately, and my SEO is working very well. So you don't even have to go to my website. You can just Google Down to Earth, again with the number 2, and then the topic, and you'll find the show. It talks all about planting garlic. So now is about the time. We're still a little early. I think, isn't it more like the end of September, October? Depends on the temperature.
Daniel?
Yeah, exactly. We just lost Daniel. So garlic, we can still, and that is one easy thing for homeowners to grow themselves.
Yeah.
Instead of, although I know there's been a big successful push at the grocery stores to stop using the Chinese garlic and things like that and get more Ontario locally grown garlic. So I think we're doing a good job at that. And definitely I picked up some last week at our local farmers market. I picked up some bulbs for us to use, not to plant, but to use.
Right.
So that's a good thing to know.
That is very much
that
so.
It's an easy thing to plant, and that you plant it in October and harvest it in July.
Yes.
Those are the 2 things I know.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I've never grown it myself.
Okay.
And there are so many new varieties that I've seen in the garden center. So I'm looking forward to trying it myself this year.
Yeah,
so.
Excellent. So we want to thank everybody once again for joining us down the garden path.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank Karina.
Okay.
She was a listener that's out of Ajax, and she found me in my garden center that nobody knows that I work at.
That's right.
So hi to Karina, and thank you very much for listening and coming to visit me.
Yes. So thank you very much for being a loyal listener. Yes. It was I'm really happy to hear a local person as well. Yeah. So that's great.
And thanks to all the other loyal listeners who are out there that we don't get to ever meet or see. And
yes.
Thanks for all your questions. And we're really excited that, we get to come and do this every week for you.
Absolutely. And if you have questions or comments or concerns, I know Karina mentioned, I know anybody listening last week, we had some technical difficulties for some reason getting the show off my website. So if there's any situations like that, we're always, even if we're not in the studio, we're not far away. So please don't hesitate to, again, at my website, downtoearth.ca, my email address is there. Twitter, Facebook, you can pretty much reach me and let me know or give me some feedback, and we'll look into it and make the changes we need to make. We've got some more exciting things happening for the radio show, and we'll be talking more about that this fall. And but we'd love to hear from you as well. What your topics you're interested in, guests you want, books. We're going to interview some authors. So it's going to be an exciting fall.
Lots of fun stuff coming up.
Excellent. So
well,
I think that's a wrap.
I think that is a wrap. Thanks again, Joanne. Thanks again for listening to tonight's show. And again, you can follow us along at downtoearth.ca and all of our social media. You are listening to Down the Garden Path on Reality Radio 101.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your hosts Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101.